My name is Lauren Barnes, and this is my video presentation. The purpose of this presentation will focus on key ideas that should be utilized in classrooms today. These key ideas will be informative and will promote a deeper understanding of the subject matter. What are your key learnings from Clip 2? In this clip, Ms. Ruler gives students a new word, has a student provide an example, and then students predict a definition. She walked around as students were writing to gather data. After counting down, she called on a student to read their definition. Soon after, she called on another student to read their sentence using the vocabulary word. I learned that Ms. Ruler is standardizing the format using streamline observations by designing materials and space so that you're looking in the same consistent place every time for the data you need. Ms. Ruler gathers and collects data as she walks around the room and motivates students to try before asking for help. How did this information impact my thinking? The information from the clip impacted my thinking because Ms. Ruler standardized the format in her classroom by providing feedback and constructive criticism to her students as she monitored and adjusted her instruction to meet the needs of every student. This information changed and influenced my perceptions of how standardized the format should be used in the classroom and how it impacts both the teacher and the students. What information will I take with me and implement as a teacher? As a teacher, some key information from this clip that I will use in my classroom is standardizing the packet. Technique 19, or double plan, is a lesson plan handout that students complete as the teacher is making rounds, disrupting class less, and giving extra time to check for understanding so she can monitor and adjust her lesson. My reflection. Personally and professionally, this technique will help me to meet students' needs, differentiate instruction, and to help me understand what is happening in my classroom. Since every student has the same work to complete, students answering the same question at the same time, as well as showing their work, would allow me to make observations, gather data, and differentiate where I see necessary. I also think this technique would cut down on the number of student disruptions because all students would be engaged in the learning process. What are my learnings from Clip 6? In this clip, Ms. Lewis uses affirmative checking in her classroom to make sure her students have mastered the skill on their ticket before completing their independent work. Ms. Lewis uses phrases such as, "Go get started," or "Go check your work." These phrases let students know if they need to correct their work or if they can complete their independent work. The book states, students must get confirmation that their work is correct, productive, or sufficiently rigorous before moving on to the next stage. Ms. Lewis can easily check for understanding when specific points in her lesson has been reached. How did this information impact my thinking? After watching this clip, I have a clear understanding of the advantages of affirmative checking. This information has influenced my thinking because I believe that affirmative checking focuses on student mastery of the subject and skill being taught. Furthermore, students are held accountable for their work. This implies that the quality of students' work is valued. What information will I take with me and implement as a teacher? As a teacher, some information of affirmative checking that I will implement in my classroom are some of the examples provided in the book. For example, I will use a rubric to check off mastery of skills as well as adding bonus work. Furthermore, I could have students show me their ticket as a group instead of having students come up one at a time. This technique is a great way to provide feedback, check for understanding, and check for mastery of the objective skill or standard. My reflection, professionally, this technique will allow me to be aware of what my students are doing. It also allows me to monitor student work, provide quality feedback to my students, and adjust my instruction. Furthermore, and probably most important personally, affirmative checking builds the culture of error in the classroom. I want to plan for errors beforehand and let my students know that errors are what help us learn and grow. What are my key learnings from Clip 9? In this clip, Mr. Javascikas Ask his students a question, calling on one in which she responds she does not know, and that she does not remember anything. He then asks another student to give the first student a hint. After a little discussion, he goes back to that same student and repeats the question in which she finally has a response. This is an effective technique because it helps the student that don't know the answer take responsibility of their learning. The text states that the no opt-out technique turns "I don't know" into success by ensuring that students who want to try or can't answer practice getting it right. How did this information impact my thinking? This information impacted my thinking significantly. Instead of that child getting off the hook of answering the question, cues and hints are provided so the student will be able to answer the question. I think this technique will cut down on the number of disruptions in the classroom because students truly do not know, or if they are humiliated if they answer incorrectly. Two quotes I like are, "Get it wrong, then get it right," and "Wrong is okay with me, failing to try is not." These both came from the book. To me, this is the meaning of no opt-out. What information will you take with you and implement as a teacher? After watching this clip, I will implement this technique into my classroom. I have learned that cues and hints are very beneficial to those students who are reluctant to answer. I have also learned through this clip and through my reading that positivity reinforces a culture in which students are more willing to help and support each other. Reflection. I believe no opt-out will be a great technique to utilize in my classroom because it sets high expectations and improves student achievement. This technique also requires ability and accountability. I will use this technique to encourage rather than hinder any student, even those who are unsure, to strive for the correct answer. This technique will come in handy in my classroom when teaching new concepts and reviewing material. And all the information provided came from our textbook.